Beginning, I'm drawing things on Procreate. I'm pulling in motifs that I already have. I'm trying to get a sense of what would work together. Also, I'm printing things out so I can have a sense of scale, adding in more motifs that I think might work. And now I start to think I've got how am I going to arrange things within the space for flow and balance. Now I've got to digitize the elements and also create fills and keep tweaking things. I made the carrots smaller, used a different hen, colorized the barn, and I think it's ready to stitch a first time through, and then I'll make changes again. I am too tired to watch TV, and I keep looking at this and thinking about things I want to change. So I have roughed out a course about design, and one of the things that I'm going to teach in it is visual balance. And for example, I have a sense that these radishes up here are going to be too heavy because the leaves are going to get completely filled in. The red is the heaviest color, and so I think it's going to be dense. It's taking up more space. Also, this hen is really busy, so it becomes visually heavy. And I'm thinking the carrots and the radishes should swap places because the carrots are just going to be a little bit lighter. So visual weight is one of the things that I'm going to teach in the class. And I'm also going to teach alignments. So things don't have to be all lined up, but they should be placed on purpose and with a knowledge of how they relate to each other. So if you look, I've kind of got a 3-column design going on here, but the text here goes into that spot. The windmill ends at this spot. The fence and the hen have a break right here. So really there's 1, 2, 3 lines there, and it's just too many. So I think what I'll do is I'll bring the text over and align it with the windmill, which will be just a little off from the edge of the hen, but I think that will be okay. It's okay to break borders, but you need to do it consciously, and that's just too many things that are off. So those are some of the things that I'm thinking about as I'm looking at it. 1, that the radishes are going to be too heavy up here, and 2, that my alignments are out of whack. I'm continuing to tweak this design. As I said last night, I swapped the radishes and the carrots because I think the radishes are going to be kind of heavy. And again, things take on weight when they're higher up. They take on weight when they're more dense, which these are going to be. The color red takes on more weight, so I've swapped those. And I added a vertical herringbone stitch in there. I think that needs to be smaller. I got my alignments going as I was speaking of. So really this is a 1/3, 2/3 kind of design, but things are more lined up. I'm also working on smaller details. The center star in these is now a darker green. This flower was centered before on the bird, and I make it larger and off center, and then I echoed those down here. Before, the barn had some really precise scallops with dots in it, so now it's funkier and it has the same thing. I added those angles here. I did some other things, I can't remember what. Did I already say that I added this vertical herringbone, and I need to make it smaller? I think I could do something more fun right in there. I'm not sure about these blades. I might rework those. So little tweaks. I don't usually design in color. I usually design in grayscale, but I had just done these chickens, and I came up with a vintage country kitchen palette for those, and I really like it. And so I'm designing right now with that color scheme. Things may change, but that's the scheme I'm starting with. But I've ordered some variegated avocado DMC floss. I've never worked with variegated in the kits before. I want it for these lettuce here, and we'll see how much I use that and if I use 2 more greens in addition to it. So I kind of know colors, but not totally. I finished a first stitch through on the garden sampler, and now I'm going to do some tweaks to finish it off. Let's see, starting up here, I want the bottom line there to be orange, just like it is here. So I'll shift that plaid. I'm going to make some changes to the hen. Oh, the red. I'm not liking the red. It's got a little bit too much. It tends towards sort of raspberry. I want a more real red, so I'm going to change the red. I'm also going to change the light green, just a little less yellow in the green. And you can see here I used the variegated green. I'm liking that. I want some of this design to spill into here just a little bit. I have to figure out what I'm doing in the middle of that. But I'm close. Excited to get this done. And the challenge with the hen is I feel like it's got too many colors. It's too busy. I know it's a nice motif, but I've already got a lot of nice motifs. Like I love the radish and the carrots and I want them to shine. And I want the hen to be a counterweight to the barn, which doesn't have all that teal in it. It's just a little more subdued. It's got a lot more orange and yellow and pink. So I think I want the hen to have more orange and yellow and pink, except for the comb and the gobbler. But that's why I'm rethinking it is I feel like the two don't counterbalance each other nicely. This is just a little too heavy. And a little more color talk. So the green should be ever present. It's almost like a backdrop. It's everywhere. Then the light blue and the teal, and that's why I have the problem with the hen, the light blue and the teal should function as accents in very small doses. Same thing with the yellow. So right now I have this light blue line, the light blue here, the light blue here, the light blue here, and down here. So it works to just bring your eye down through the piece, but it shouldn't, so it needs to get out of there. And then the same thing with the teal. I've got the teal in the plaid, the teal in garden, and the teal down here. It should just be this accent that actually catches your eye because there is so little of it. So I don't want all of it right there. There's a visual triangle of yellows. We've got yellow in the barn and here in the turnips, and then that will stay up in the chicken, so that would be a nice visual triangle of the yellows. Here's a final note about the design of my garden sampler. This is what I was working through with you yesterday. And here's the final design. And what I decided to do, you know, I was talking about how I wanted to take the teal out of there, and I ended up putting a lot more red. And so then I could create a visual triangle of the bird, the house, and the radishes, but this wasn't positioned properly. When you have a visual triangle, you really want the eye to, the purpose would be for the eye to travel through the piece. And it just seemed odd right there. So I've flipped that and moved the garden inside and put the quote down here, which I really like. I like how I'm able to sort of shake up how it's laid out more. And I had talked quite a while ago, I talked about alignments and how this design has like a 1/3, 2/3 thing going on, and the alignments are important. But understand, I don't want things lined up, totally lined up. So these fence lines really establish that there's an alignment line there, and I do have the garden, and then this quote jig-jags in a little bit. I want a little bit of a curve to it, and I also ran this design over the corner of the garden instead of leaving that a sharp corner because it was just too much perfectly aligned. But you do understand there are alignments. It's just, I didn't want them totally lined up. Anyways, I think this is done. I'm about to photograph this for the stitching guide. How much fun is this? Of course, I made it, so I'm in love with it, but I love the colors. It's so much fun to stitch. All the little things. We're using a variegated green for the lettuce and the Brussels sprouts. The barn and the hen are so much fun. The radishes are fun. The plaid is fun. It's just a really fun design. And you in the hoop stitchers who think I've left you behind, I haven't. There'll be 2 companion pieces. There might even be a 3rd. And so this will be in the shop the end of this week. These will be in the following. But again, how much fun is this? Stitch Stories customers often express surprise and appreciation for the stitching guides that come with every kit. This is a nice heavy cardstock, and so what you get, everything's in one piece. You don't have multiple sheets, and there's always a nice photo on the cover for you to use as a model, and detail, little stitching tips about all the little things that might not go per usual, and a detailed diagram that shows you what color and which stitch I like to use, and then diagrams for all the stitches on the back. So that's the one for the newest kit.